Okay. Okay. Who here speaks a language other than English at home? Okay. Now, who here is currently taking a foreign language class here at Cal Poly? That's what I thought. So if I ask these same questions to a classroom of European students, let's say in Switzerland or France, we would get very different numbers. Sadly, when it comes to foreign language education here in America, our numbers are nowhere near close to those of other countries, especially those in Europe. The U.S. is suffering from a foreign language deficit, and we as students and citizens should work to invest more in saving our language programs in both public education and beyond. To start off, let's see where we're at compared to the rest of the globe linguistically. The truth and reality is the U.S. is losing touch to an increasingly interconnected network of people linguistically. Compared to other countries, America is falling behind in terms of language education. In 2010, as reported by Forbes magazine, only 18% of Americans were able to speak in another language other than English. Compare this to Europeans who are able to speak, 53% of them are able to speak in another language. Reports have also shown, also by Forbes, that there have been a decline in foreign language instruction in schools at pretty much all levels of education. If you look at elementary, middle school, and high school levels, these are numbers comparing 1997 to 2008, the percent of schools that offer a foreign language instruction. In elementary schools, it went from 31 to 25%. In middle schools, it dropped like 17%. High school has been pretty good. It's stayed roughly the same at 91%. But if you look at what affects us here today, if you look at higher institution learning, like colleges, foreign language, the percent of schools that required foreign language study in order to complete your baccalaureate, from the 90s to like the 2000s, it's gone from 67.5 to 50.7%. So clearly our country isn't valuing foreign language education, or it's not being maintained, as you can see in these numbers presented here. Also, the languages that are being studied tend to also be disproportionately skewed towards Western languages. So if you look at this demographic, there's a lot to show, but only 7% of American undergraduates study a world language. And of those tiny 7%, 73% study Spanish, French, German, and Italian. And these are all Western languages, as you can see. And if you can see in this chart, these are the top 20 most spoken languages. And the blue are non-Western languages, and the orange are Western languages. So you can see there's a pretty good mix, but there's pretty much a lot more non-Western languages. But the languages that we study, there's way more Western languages, and these are not being as represented. Even just looking at languages being spoken at home or languages spoken worldwide, languages from the East should be represented in the education system as well. So on the left, I got these from Statista. This is from the U.S. Census Bureau, and then this is from worldsparky.net. You can see I highlighted the non-Western languages. There's a good chunk of them. It's not just Western languages that people speak. So those languages should also be represented in our education system. They're clearly not. But how can we, as Cal Poly students, tackle on what seems like such a large-scale problem in our country's foreign language deficit? I believe that through our dual role of citizen and student, we as a collective can help combat this problem. The U.S. can begin to level the playing field by investing more in their foreign language education programs. We as citizens, we're legal now to vote. We can elect officials who we believe have a strong stance on education and have a strong background in advocating for programs like these and furthering foreign language education programs throughout all levels of schools again, elementary, middle, high school, and college. We as Cal Poly students should also take advantage of the language learning opportunities that have been presented to us. We're in a really great place where if you want to pick up a language or even just gain exposure to some, we're in a place to do that. And I've gone ahead and compiled all of the languages that we offer here at Cal Poly. So as you can see, there's a lot. We offer French, German, Spanish, Chinese, Italian, and Japanese classes. And a lot of these classes, especially in Spanish, it's not just about learning the language, it's about learning the culture as well. I know my roommate, she's taking, I think it's Spanish 350, it's Chicano studies, and she tells me it's about half and half. It's about half of actually learning the language and then half of getting engaging in the Spanish culture itself. And I think it's important to note that Richard Brecht, he works in the University of Maryland Center of Advanced Study of Language. He notes that it isn't that people don't think language education is important, it's that they don't think it's possible. And I understand that if you weren't growing up and you weren't constantly talking to your mother in Spanish, or you're engaging in daily conversations with your grandmother in Chinese that it's hard to pick up that language. But I think that you're in an environment, as you can clearly see, that there are so many opportunities available here to you if you were to take on a language. Yes, it won't be the easiest or much less the fastest way, but the benefits of learning a language outweigh all of the cons. Acquiring an additional language provides so many benefits to both the speaker and those surrounded by him or her. Language affects your cognitive processes. There was a study, a really interesting study I found by Kieser. He's a psychology professor at University of Chicago, and he was looking at moral dilemmas. So he took two groups of people and he asked them the same question. Would you sacrifice one person's life to save five? If there's a bus driver and he knew that he was going to drive off a cliff and kill the 5 people on board, would you go ahead and kill the bus driver in order to save the 5 people on board? But how he approached this question was he asked one group of people in their native language, and then he asked one group of people in the foreign language, so a language that they weren't as familiar to or they were just learning. And what he found that he says, foreign language is much less emotional. They're more reflective about their choices. They're more likely to engage in cost-benefit analysis in a way and less likely to be swayed by all sorts of emotional reactions that they may have in general. Which I really find interesting because if I say the word to you, love, compared to amor, you know amor means love, but it doesn't hold the same connotations and you don't get the same physiological reactions as when I say the word love to you because you're more, assuming like most of you, that's your native language and you have more of a connection to that word. Also, we need to understand the other languages in order to gain a better understanding of the world. To prosper economically and to improve relations with other countries, Americans need to read, speak, and understand other languages. Noted by Duncan, U.S. Secretary of Education. Also by Brett Baker, founder of Global Professional Search. We as Americans are now competing in this global war for talent, in which it can't just be about specialization anymore, we have to communicate in the language. And she means specialization as in, we can't just specialize in medicine or technology or engineering, that's not enough. We have to be able to communicate our ideas to people around the world, so we need to be able to speak in these languages in order to do so. Also noted by Pinner, Uniliterate, Language Learning and Academic Literacies, another aspect is that learning should be made personally meaningful and people should learn to speak as themselves. Just because English is kind of the standard language around the world, it's what a lot of people know, people from other countries shouldn't have to force themselves to learn how to speak English just so they can present the ideas that they have. They should be able to speak and speak their thoughts naturally in the language that they have, and we should be able to understand them as well. Having said all this, we as students should take on the challenges that the country faces in the linguistic realm. I encourage you to start thinking big picture. 1 in 5 American jobs is and will be tied to international trade. Whether we are traveling, conducting business meetings with international clients, or engaging in conversations with native speakers from another land, knowing another language is an extremely useful tool that all of us should aspire to acquire at some point in our lives. And we are in a learning environment now, in a prestigious university where we can begin to combat the problem that is our country's foreign language deficit.